what would you really kind of net it out for them and say, if you're not working on this, you ought to be looking at working on this? What are the big opportunities?
Well, I would kind of put it a little differently about the big operators aren't innovative. I think that there's, at a corporate level, that's true because of the restrictions placed on them. There's actually extremely bright, extremely innovative, very creative, entrepreneurial
Go find
people in those companies.
Go find them.
They just have restrictions on what they can do and how much they can do, which provides the opportunity for outsourced R&D and outsourced innovation. So, and I think the big thing for me that I've noticed in the industry really over the last 10 to 15 years is the internet changes everything.
Sure.
The initial catalyst for internet innovation was really around high-speed broadband.
Yep.
And the consumers will continue to have an insatiable appetite for higher speed broadband. The initial answer for quality of service is always provide more bandwidth.
Yeah.
There's other things you can do with that bandwidth, but providing more bandwidth is like one of the key things. And I think that one of the
So innovations around bandwidth and quality of service and throughput and availability.
And not only downstream, which has been where most of the focus has been over the last 10 years, I think Verizon Fios with more of a focus on upstream bandwidth, especially as you get into personal content sharing and personal content creation, is going to become way, way more important. So innovation around broadband, then there's going to be, net neutrality is going to, the net neutrality laws are going to continue to cause challenges in a debate inside the operators about whether the high-speed broadband is dumb pipe or a smart pipe. The smart pipe being, I'm delivering PayTV service, I'm more of a media company, whereas if it's a dumb pipe, I'm more of a utility company. And I think it's going to, I think both are going to exist.
Okay, so now here's one that really worries me as a shareholder for some of these companies. The grenade that gets rolled in the tent called advertising, broadcast advertising. That pin's already been pulled.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a lot of problems to be solved there. And in this age of streaming content, there's an emerging requirement around anytime, anywhere access to that content. I want it on my tablet, I want it on my smartphone. And if the big pay TV operators don't do it, somebody else will. The second area is really, dovetails into that. It's around online media distribution, which will become more and more important. And what I mean by this is that traditional pay TV operators today have an online presence, but they're not an online company.
Right.
The way that their presence acts needs to be significantly modified, and some of them are on the process of doing this. But it's extremely challenging.
To be more Google-like.
To be more Google-like, or more Apple-like, or even I think there's just emerging companies right now that are, for instance, big retailers that maybe they were historically bricks and mortar retailers that they're starting to gain a much broader online presence. And how can I shop online, and how can I easily access information? And this dovetails into what you're talking about advertising. I don't think traditional advertising is dead. It's still a multi-billion-dollar business, but I think dollars are going to continue to shift to online in an accelerated way, and I think there's going to be a big opportunity for interactive online advertising. There's a little company in town called TV Page that is heavily involved in using video to help people make purchasing decisions, and the way it's integrated within some of the big retailers' sites, it's highly creative, highly innovative, and I think this is going to be, if the traditional pay TV operators want to continue to be media companies as opposed to utilities, they've got to get stronger in terms of online presence, because a lot of the dollars that they enjoy today are going to be shifting to online.
I can, because if you go back to the ancient history, the advertising that I'm talking about being blown up by the grenade was tied to content, but that content was kind of static, programmed, scheduled. And what I hear you saying is, it's still the same formula. It's just that the content is all over the place. It's fragmented. It's coming at you. It's recorded. It's on demand. It's user generated. Whatever. And there's advertising opportunities on all of those.
Well, and it gets to this point. There was a Microsoft study a few months ago that basically is about different demographics, and the attention span of a millennial is like 7 seconds now online, which is actually less than the attention span of a goldfish. So you have to be able to gain somebody's attention very quickly and capture that attention to keep them interested.
All right, now I'm almost done with my questions, audience, so get ready. So here's one, and this is kind of my pet peeve. I'm sick and tired of paying these big, huge bundles, and I don't watch 90% of the channels. So talk to me about a la carte video and what else is changing with video delivery.
Well, I think you've got to solve these infrastructure problems, at the edge of the network and the core of the network. But once those are done, I think you can establish pricing models for a la carte video and make things much more personalized, and I think that is going to happen. And there's innovation opportunities there. I also think personal content, like that's seen on YouTube, and many companies are starting to use Vimeo as well. So maybe it's not personal, meaning me as an individual, but people that aren't traditional production studios are producing a lot of content. And the pay TV operator should be able to find some way to help monetize that other than just being a dumb pipe.
Okay. All right. So now there's no webinar ever done on the internet in the last 6 months that doesn't talk about the Internet of Things. So here's my question: does the Internet of Things play in? You already mentioned home automation, so that's kind of my lead-in. Is home automation just the leading edge of Internet of Things?
I think so. I mean, I think Internet of Things is going to be huge. I mean, it's like the next big idea, but it actually is the current idea. And a lot of the innovation opportunities, I don't believe are in the hardware. I think the hardware is going to be heavily commoditized. I also think that there's a lot of infrastructure that's already deployed that's just not connected. So it's about how do you connect these disparate networks. Not all of them are IP networks. Many of them use other forms of communication. Many of them use various different standards for the hardware. So I think the biggest opportunities are stitching together these disparate networks. The pay TV operators can clearly play a big way in that, in the consumer portion of that. There's an industrial automation portion, there's automotive, there's these other areas. But I think as far as the consumer goes, because they have this incumbency position, they have a big opportunity there. They're also going to be able to collect lots of data, and there's the challenge of turning that data into valuable information. There was a recent article I saw, some of my former buddies that work at Comcast, they collect a lot of user data that's actually more rich data than what Nielsen has, and they're now going to start trying to monetize some of that data. But I think that there's other interesting areas there as well.
Well, this is a great list. I hope this is giving all of you some good thoughts, things to think about. Maybe what you're working on fits within all this, maybe it doesn't, or maybe these just give you some new thoughts. So this is a great list of opportunity. I appreciate you sharing that with me.
You bet. I agree. I think there's really not a question in my mind about the opportunity in the pay TV industry. The real question is, can the incumbent pay TV operators be the ones that take advantage of it? And some of these emerging opportunities from the web, or are they just going to be victims? And I think it's going to be a mixed bag, because I do think they have the incumbency position, and that's sometimes really understated and undervalued.
Yeah.